This will be the first time ever we'll get a conference schedule of any kind when we know what the teams are ranked going into the season, at least based on Phil Steele or, whatever reputable source. Ohio State's number 1, Penn State's number 10, Wisconsin and Michigan are in the teens, and Iowa's in the 20s. What does that mean? How is that going to impact the schedule? And I'm not asking for favoritism or anything, but just don't put your number 1 ranked team behind the 8 ball. It's all I would say with your schedule when it comes out, because if you do that, people are going to be really upset with the Big Ten. And then the other thing is, do you match them? I looked it up. The 4 teams that they're not scheduled to play: Wisconsin, Northwestern, Minnesota, and Purdue. They all have 4 home games and 5 road games. So there's not one in particular that fits the mold. Ohio State could play any of those 4, I guess, if they maintain the schedule as written. And do they match them up with the highest ranked team from that division that's available, which would be Wisconsin? So I think a lot of fun stuff coming. And, like last year, Ohio State had to play Penn State the week before they played Michigan. That's not a good way to set that up. And if they come back with something similar to that this year, people are going to say, well, don't you want to put a team in the playoff? That'd probably be the question.
Yeah, I just real quick, Tony, can't imagine when Michigan State was really good, that happened to Ohio State in 2015. And then, of course, last year with Penn State right before the game. I just don't know how, with all the intricacies of the schedule, that the scheduler makers are just, working in line and don't see the big picture and look at that and think we need to do something about that.
And here's where that came in home to roost was, okay, it wasn't the Michigan game, but it was the Wisconsin game, the 3rd week in a row where they had to play a sledgehammer top 15 team, and they were no-show for 30 minutes of that game and had to stand on their head in the second half and basically shut out Wisconsin in the second half to win the game. That's where it came home to roost, was the stacking of those late season games. They should be playing Rutgers or Maryland or somebody the week before they play Michigan or a team like that. That's how it should be. I mean, it should be, we give Alabama and all those schools a bunch of crap for playing Citadel and Charleston Southern the week before. The Big Ten at least plays conference games, but nobody ever said it needed to be a good conference game. So, do no harm here with the scheduling there, whoever's in charge of it.
Well, and the SEC goes out of their way to protect their best teams with their scheduling in terms of, before rivalry weeks and things like that. The Big Ten says, I believe it's a computer that does theirs, and yet Ohio State always plays Penn State at night because it's early enough in the season, and plays at Penn State at night. And this last year, Penn State was at Ohio Stadium, late in the season, so there's no opportunity for a night game there because nobody really wants a night game that late. But yeah, in 15 and 19, both Michigan State and Penn State were ranked 9th in the nation, and really were done no favors by the Big Ten. And this is an opportunity for the Big Ten to do Ohio State and Penn State some favors. But just from talking to Gene Smith, maybe now they're starting to think about the playoffs in the postseason outside of Ohio or outside of the Big Ten. But just from when we talked to him, and it was a long time ago now because nothing has happened in 3 weeks since we last talked to Gene Smith. Like the playoffs are the furthest thing from his mind.
Yeah.
And you wonder, maybe it's closer now that they've got some more things figured out. But, they're going to throw it in a computer again, see how it shakes out, maybe take it to some teams to, would you mind this schedule? Is this schedule okay? And it's like, no, because we still need a home game or whatever. And who knows how much back and forth there is. Iowa or Nebraska's AD won in 12 conference games. Gene Smith said everybody else probably okay with 10. like the first week of them trying to figure out the schedule may have just been complaining back and forth and trying to decide how many games. And then the second week is, okay, now let's build a schedule. And then the third week is, okay, now let's fix it because people are complaining. And it's like, well, as Gene Smith said, don't get hung up on the fairness of your schedule. Just be happy that your student athletes can go out there and play.
Don't get hung up.
Right. That's easy for him to say, having the best team in the conference. It's not so much, imagine, Greg Schiano doesn't want to have to play a murderer's row of the Big Ten East all right in a row or whatever. And I'm sure neither does Lovie Smith or whomever. And Jim Harbaugh has he probably like an easier schedule as well. But you know what? Nothing is promised to you this year, so take whatever you can get.
Yeah. And as an example, Alabama never plays Georgia until this year. They're supposed to play them. And, the Big Ten tries to rotate those crossovers. Ohio State seems to play Nebraska on almost an annual basis right now. Now, obviously, they're not top of their program right now. And they have rotated Wisconsin in very regularly, who's been the class of that division since they went east and west. So, the Big Ten has not shied away, from challenging its teams or mixing up the matchups, unlike certain other conferences seem to be doing.
To answer a couple of questions about like the band, I don't think they've said whether the band would be out there or not, but we all count in the attendance. Whoever's in the stadium during a game counts towards that attendance. That's why you can have more than capacity because we're not all sitting in the seats. So yeah, I don't know. Since there's no skull session, does that mean that there still wouldn't be a band? I don't think so. I know they're trying to limit as many people on the sidelines as possible, but can you afford 10 to 12 cheerleaders? Probably. There's going to be so much limitations on everything. And as we've seen at Ohio Stadium, they have been, I wouldn't say eliminating, they've been downplaying the band for about the last decade in terms of you're having more music played through the PA. They could probably play band music through the PA or do what, because they've been negating the band for years. And this would be the prime opportunity to finally get their way and get that stinking band out of there, it seems like.
Yeah, we had one game at Wisconsin probably 10 years ago. The Wisconsin band was suspended for hazing, and the Ohio State band didn't make the trip. So our friend Kevin Noon, who is noticeably absent today, coined that where the teams have no bands. They played the U2 song at the beginning, I want to run, that whole thing when Wisconsin came out on the field. And Kevin coined that night where the teams have no bands. So, yeah, that was practice for what we may have this year.
Are you a singer, Steve? That was pretty good. That was like
no, I'm not Bono. No.
That was similar to the real thing. Like it was recognizable. Like it was.
I'm no Bono.
Okay.
Bono is a friend of mine, and you, sir, are no Bono.
Timely reference.
Yeah. Absolutely. Seemed to be really Jim Tressel who said, we're going to get back to some traditions here. We're going to, of course, sing the Carmen, Ohio at the end of the game and kind of bring the band back into the culture of the football team.
Yeah. It was really kind of cool. He always put the band on a pedestal, and he and the director at that time, I think, was it Waters? John Waters may have been the director then. They were like joined at the hip with all their initiatives and everything, and the band was a big part of the program. And he would say things like, for us to be on the same field as that band, that's the kind of pedestal that he put the band on. And they even came up with a new fanfare for the team to come out, when he became the coach. And he started the tradition of the players walking from the hotel at the Blackwell Inn across the street through St. John Arena to the Skull Session. I know you had a question. What is the Skull Session? That is a pregame concert in the old basketball arena across the street from Ohio Stadium, where for some games they'll get 10,000 people inside the old basketball arena to watch typically it's a high school band or the opposing team's band if they travel, plus the Ohio State band. But the highlight is somewhere around an hour and 45 minutes before the game is supposed to kick off, the team walks down to the main floor. The coach, the head coach, which has been Jim Tressel, Luke Fickle, Urban Meyer, or now Ryan Day, says a few words to the crowd. It could be if they're playing Penn State, hey, we got a big one today. Michigan, it doesn't get any bigger than this. We need you today, that type thing. And then maybe one player, a captain or somebody will get up and say a few words as well. They'll play the fight song and they go up the other side toward the stadium. I mean, they're not in there more than about 6-7 minutes and they are gone, if that. And they usually have all their recruits follow along on that. So the recruits get to experience that whole walk from the hotel into the basketball arena and then across the street through the fans, through, as you see a lot of these SEC schools, they have those tunnels where the players and the coaches walk through those tunnels to get to the stadium. Clemson and some of those places do that. Ohio State does it it's probably about a 200 or 300-yard walk, maybe from St. John Arena across the street into the north entrance where the stained glass is there at the stadium, the rotunda. The team will walk into that, then walk down the ramp, walk the length of the field. And Urban Meyer made it a tradition for him to be down near the goal line where they go into the locker room, and he would shake the hand and hug every guy as they were going in to get dressed, for the game, so that he would have a physical eye-to-eye contact with every player on the team going in to the locker room to get ready for the game. So it was, we see at Michigan State the whole thing with Michigan a few years ago where they lock arms and walk. I'm trying to do that in my little window, walk arms and go down the field, and they run into Devin Bush. Well, that's Michigan State's tradition. Ohio State's tradition is they almost walk single file through the crowd and then down the field and meet the coach and then go get ready. So I hope that answers his question about the skull session. The band usually plays for about 45 minutes. The other band, either a high school band or the opposing team's band, will play for a few songs as well. And then it breaks up about an hour before the game and everybody can dissipate and go to the stadium.
I remember in 2018 when Urban Meyer returned from his suspension. Like, the media doesn't always go over to the skull session, but I think pretty much everybody went over for that one because, that was going to be the fans' first opportunity to welcome him back. It was going to be his first opportunity to speak to everybody. And so, you
Good to hell back.
Exactly. You're looking up at the ramp, like waiting for him to come down. And as soon as you hear people saying he's coming, then just the buzz around the stadium begins. And then once they see him, obviously they erupt. And if you've never done it, you should just go to skull session once and say you've done it. If it's your thing, you probably won't miss it again. If it's not your thing, you've said you've done it. It can be a little warm there in September. Just be prepared. It's St. John Arena, so it's not air conditioned. There are no ceiling fans. It's just going to be a little bit warm.
St. John Arena.
Yeah, it would not be the place to be this year with 13,276 in there. No. But it is a neat thing if you're into the band. I think every single Ohio State freshman at some point has a CD or they used to of the band, or a record of Steve, or a cassette tape, or MP3s now, of course, or just streaming, whatever. But you get it inculcated to the marching band pretty early on, and it's something to have in your rotation, the music from the band.
It's something for parents if they're taking kids who are probably 5 to 10 years old to their first game. That's something that you want to go and do because you can sit down and enjoy the music and all the excitement and see the team and everything else come through. It's something to kind of occupy that time before the game. If you're not inclined to stand out at a tailgate party or don't have a comfortable place to be before the game and can't get in the stadium, that quickly. But you do need to get there 2.5 hours before the game starts to get your seat because the lower bowl does fill up, again, we won't need this information until 2021, I guess. But the lower bowl does fill up pretty quickly.
But I'll also say, anytime you can spend some time in St. John Arena, take advantage of it.
Historic.
Yeah, Tony, as soon as you said 13,276, I had a circuit and one of my brain cells just go off and be like, yeah, that was the
that was the magic number.
Mm-hmm. Every game.
Get this phone out of here. There we go. Yeah, that was the number, 13,276. Yeah, St. John's Arena. And if you sat in the upper deck, you really hung over the basketball court.
It was a great place. I had season tickets there for a couple of years behind the opposing coaches bench, and the great coaches that came through the Big Ten in the mid 90s. I mean, it was ridiculous, and it was great fun, and it was good basketball. Not the Ohio State teams, mind you, weren't very great. I know one year Ohio came in and beat them. I think one year they lost at Toledo. So it wasn't the best of times, but it was still fun.
Yeah.
I remember those Eldon Miller teams, of course. Those were the first taste of Ohio State basketball. They were a little hit or miss. I certainly loved that Ronnie Stokes, Troy Taylor backcourt that was together for, it seemed like forever, for a college
4 years.
basketball.
Yep, they played together for 4 years.